So this is exactly where we left off here, right? We just finished our first example of the inventory worksheet, okay? So now we're going to go ahead and continue on. Now what I'm going to do here is for the second part of the scenario, I am not going to have you journalize anymore because it's just going to be rinse and repeat. Same thing, purchase expense, freight expense, accounts payable, over and over and over again. You already got the concept down, so I don't need to keep testing you on that anymore, okay? So what we're going to do is just practice filling out the inventory worksheet. So in this case, question 3 says continue with the inventory exercise. Your inventory method is periodic and it is FIFO. So now we have beginning inventory, right? Because we're carrying on from April into May. So April says you have 600 units on hand. All right, and we know that because that's exactly what we found out here is when we did solve for ending inventory, we know that we have 100 from the third batch of inventory that we purchased, and then we have our fourth batch, which was the 500 units. This is what we're going to carry over into our next inventory worksheet in this exact order because this is the same idea. Because they're separated in batches, that means we're not going to combine them. We're going to keep them in the way, and when we calculate our cost of goods sold, we're going to get rid of these ones first, okay? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to carry these 600 units over into our new inventory worksheet. So right here, as I mentioned before, right, we're going to be using this inventory on hand side. This is literally inventory on hand. This is your beginning balances, and only beginning balances are going to be in this section. So what I'm going to do is I know this was 100 and this was 500. This was $6.10 and I think this was $6.35. Okay. So let's see. So I carry those information over. And again, I'm also going to do an equal sum section here. So we have totals here. And that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to equal sum this so we can go from there. Okay, so here I have a total of 600 units at a total of $3,785. Okay, that's my beginning balance. All right, so then let's go ahead and look at our scenarios here. Okay, May 5th, we purchased 500 units at $6.25 each with a freight of $50. Okay, so we're going to go into our new inventory worksheet. It is now May 5th. We purchased another 500 units at $6.25 each with a freight of $50. So what is my purchase price? $3,125. Plus 50 gives me a total cost of $3,175. Good. So in this case, because it's a new batch of inventory, we must calculate our total cost per item. So in this case, $6.35. Okay. So let's see what's next. Next we have on May 10, we end up purchasing 800 units at $6 each with a freight of $80. Okay. So May 10, 800 units, $6 each, and a freight of $80. So in this case, what's my total purchase price? 4,800 plus 80 gives me a total cost of 4,880. And last but not least, $6.10. Good. Cost per item is $6.10. Okay. So then let's go ahead and see what happened next. It's May 20th, right? May 20th, we end up purchasing 300 more units at $6.15, okay? With the freight costing $15, okay? So, plug that in. It is May 20th. We purchased, was it 300 units at $6.15, freight of $15. Let's double check that. May 20th, purchased 300 units at $6.15 with a freight of $15. Okay, so $1,845, good, plus 15. 1,860, bringing you your cost per item to be $6.20. Good. Okay. So then May 25th rolls around and we end up purchasing an additional 100 units at $6.30 each with a freight of $5. Okay. So May 25th, purchase 100 units at $6.30 with a freight of $5. So what is my total purchase price here? $6.30 plus 5. $6.35, which will bring my cost per item to be $6.35. Okay. Last piece of information that we have here was May 31st. You end up having 400 units on hand. Okay, so therefore we reach the end of our accounting period here. We reach the end of May. So now we need to go ahead and calculate our numbers. So first things first is we need to figure out what our total sum of purchases is going to be. So in this case, what's the total quantity that I bought? 1,700 units, okay? At what total purchase price? $10,550. Well, actually, 10,000. That's the total cost.
Yeah, that's with the freight.
Okay. Yeah. The freight, since you already solved it, is 150. Total cost is 1055. Okay, good. Right? So once again, right, these numbers that we find here are going to be yellow. Okay, we'll just keep it consistent. Yellow. All right? My beginning balance right here, I'm going to go ahead and refer this as red. Okay, because we're going to be needing those numbers later. Okay, so once again, when we need to solve for our net purchases, right? How many items did we buy? Right? We bought 1,700 at a total cost of 10,400. That's with freight.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So just purchases, no freight.
I don't know why I keep thinking.
No worries, it's okay. So then here, right, do we have any returns and allowances? Not for this problem, right? Still no returns and allowances. So therefore, if I take my purchases and I subtract out my returns and allowances, I don't get anything, right? It's the same number, right? Freight adds 0 to quantity, but it adds to the total cost, okay? So I take that 150 from above, right? The yellow from above. Calculations appears, my equal sums. So therefore, if, right, freight adds to my total cost, right? So therefore, I should get 10,550. Again, this number here and this number is not always going to match, especially if you have any returns. But it is a good reference point to make sure that you did your math correctly. So in this case, okay, good. Since I don't have any returns and allowances, then my assumption is my net purchases should equal my total cost. Okay. So then, let's see what happened next. Next asks for beginning inventory. So I think I made this green. Okay, so let's do beginning inventory, right? What was my beginning inventory?
600.
The 600, right? So in this case, I'm going to carry over my beginning inventory from here, right? 600 plus the 3785, right? That's my beginning inventory. And again, my net purchases is what I'm going to carry from above here because that's what I solved. And I believe I made this green. Okay? So therefore, this is also going to be green because this is where I'm carrying this number from. Okay? So, how do I solve for my total goods available? You're going to get a total of 2,300 units available to sell at a grand total of $14,335. Okay? So this is what I have available to sell. Now, I was also given that on May 31st, you have a total of 400 units on hand. So in this case, my ending balance and quantity, somebody went down to the basement, counted that I have a total of 400 units. So in this case, what is my total cost? What's my cost of goods sold? If I assume that I had 2,300 units available and I still have 400 left, I must have sold a total of you must have sold a total of 1,900 units. Okay? And I'm going to highlight this column because this is going to be my cost of goods sold column. Okay? So if you want to, you can do a separation. Okay? So I have a total of 6 batches of inventory. Okay, so I'm going to make my table here, call this my cost of goods sold. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and equal sum this so I can always have a running balance at all times. Okay, so then when I do calculate how much I sold, I know how many I actually sold. Okay, so my end goal here is to get to 1,900. I need to get to 1,900 units. So let's take a look at my cost of goods sold or my purchases, okay? Now in this case, this is my purchases that I have purchased. What happens to my beginning inventory? what happens to my beginning inventory?
It's added on.
It's added on to, but in this case, am I going to sell my beginning inventory first or my purchases first?
Beginning inventory.
You need to get rid of your beginning inventory because that's the rule of LIFO, right? If you put the situation that this was milk, right, and I combine them in there and I tack it on at the very end, that's no good, right? Those milk are going to be definitely spoiled. In this case, it's already separated. So which batch from my beginning inventory am I going to get rid of first?
800.
800. Where did you get that number from?
I don't know. 600.
So here's 600, right? You want to take all 600. In this case, we can't take all 600. We could in real life, yes, but in this case, I have to go through it in order. So I have to, which batch out of these 600 am I going to take out from first?
Well, the 500.
Which came first, the 500 or the 100? Well, did that really come first? Let's take a look in my previous worksheet. I purchased that 500 units on April 25th, while the other 100 remaining was from April 20th. So which batch came first?
Other side, 100.
Yeah, we're going to do with the 100 first and then go with the 500 after. So in this case, yes, it's also very imperative that you do it that way. I understand that it's, we're going to sell all 600 anyways. Why not just take the whole 600? You can do that, but once again, we are using the rules of FIFO here, right? Think of it, if this was milk, would that be a good thing if you sold the 500 before the 100? No. So in this case, since we already know we're going to take all 600 units here, I'm just going to copy the information so you know where they came from. Okay? So we know that this is 610, and we know that this is 3,175. Okay? And we got rid of our beginning inventory here. So if you want to, if you use the cross-out method, you can too. Right? I like to do that so then I know I don't have my beginning inventory. Okay? So then now I got rid of my first 600 units. Okay? I still need to get to 1900. So that means that's 1300 more I need to sell. So in this case, which batch of inventory am I going to sell from next? May 5th, which is the 500 units. So that's exactly what I'm going to do since I'm going to take all 500 units. Right? And I know this is 635, and this is going to cost me the same amount, the 3,175. Okay? So now that I got rid of that 600, how much more do I need to sell? You need to sell 800 more. So in this case, I got rid of my batch of inventory here. So which batch am I going to take out from next? May 10. Oh, perfect. I have exactly 800 units that I can get rid of. Okay? Okay. So this 800 units, right? It cost me $6.10 each, which gave me a total amount of $4,880. Okay? And therefore, I get a total cost of goods sold, right? I racked up a total of 1,900 units, which cost me a grand total of $11,840. Okay? So therefore, that is where this number comes from. Okay? So then, last but not least, I need to solve for my ending inventory. Okay? And what is that going to be?
300.
$300. I don't think so.
Or just a guess.
Well, how did you get 300?
That's the only amount that's left.
Well, no, it's 400. You have 400 units left.
Oh, 400, okay.
Okay, in this case, what's my total cost? 19 what? 1,900 is your cost of goods sold. That's your quantity. That's what you sold in quantity. I'm talking about total cost.
2,300.
Okay, so you took the 14 minus the 11 to get 20. Well, in this case, it's 24.95. Okay, how did I get this number? Well, let's create that table for us, right, real quick, and figure out how did we get that number. Okay, so in this case, this is my ending balance, right? Well, let's take a look. Looking at my purchases, my net purchases, how many batches of inventory do I actually still have left?
400.
You have 400, right? You got 300 from May 20th. You have 100 on May 25th. So if I compile those two numbers together, right, what's 300 plus 100 is going to give me a total ending balance of 400. Okay? If I know that my 300 batch is costing me a total of $6.20 per item, which I know is going to be a total of $18.60. Whereas my 100 items is currently $1.35, which will give me $635. So in this case, my total ending balance for the cost is 400 units, that's quantity, at a total cost of $2,495. Okay? All right? Let's take a second look at this, okay? How else can I solve for that? Well, if I have the assumption that I have a total of 2,300 units available to sell, right? Its total cost is $14,335. We know that for a fact because we solved for it. Now, if we did the same method to solve for our cost of goods sold, well, if I had 2,300 units and I have a remaining of 400, then my assumption is I must have sold 1,900. Okay? So same psychology over here, except this time I only have a total of $14,335 available to sell. If I sold a total of 11,840 units, how do I solve for what's left over? And that's going to be subtracting these two numbers, and you should get 2,495. Okay? Either way, whether you solve it by adding up your ending balance, okay, or by quickly taking what you have available, subtracting by your cost of goods sold to get your ending balance, is also the same way that you could do this as well. Okay? All right? Any questions on calculating?
No.
Okay. So then, last question of the day is to do your conversion entry. So May 31st. What am I going to recognize first?
Inventory.
Inventory, right? Okay. Oh, let me skip a line. Inventory, okay?
And then cost of goods sold.
Cost of goods sold. What else?
Purchase expense.
What else?
Right?
Mm-hmm. Anything else I need to add in here?
A note.
A note. Okay. I'll go ahead and leave it blank for a bit and then we'll figure it out, okay? So in this case, inventory. What amount am I going to put in here?
400.
You can't do quantity in journalizing, right? That's rule for the accounting assumption. It has to be in terms of dollar value.
2,495.
Good. So in this case, we use our ending balance in our inventory. Okay? What is my total cost of goods sold?
11,840.
Good. Okay? What was my total purchases? My purchase price?
10,400.
10,400. How much was my total freight?
10,550.
That's your total cost. Freight.
150.
150. Good. So, all right, rule of thumb here is let's go ahead and double check if our total debits match my total credits. I have 14,335 on the left, and I have 10,550 on the right. I am missing something here on my credit side. So I can do my calculation saying 14,335 minus 10,550, and I get a total of $3,785. Where do I see that number?
Beginning balance.
It's your beginning balance in inventory. So in this case, right, this is where you have to refer another inventory account because at the end of the day, it's the same inventory account that you're using. The only difference is the first one that you recognize is going to be your ending balance. Okay? And the last one that you recognize is your beginning. Okay? Now, for the sake of this class, I will allow you to make those reference points in your journal. But at the end of the day, when you go into the professional world, you need to know that this is the same exact account. There's no such thing as beginning inventory and ending inventory. It's just inventory. Okay? So that's rule of thumb here is there is no such thing as beginning inventory and ending inventory. It's just inventory. Okay? But for practice purposes, just so for you to remember which one goes first, you could go ahead and put this in your journal saying the first one's ending and the second and the last one is your beginning. Okay? And then now we can conclude our journal to say that this was a conversion entry. Okay? For periodic inventory purchases. Okay? Any questions at all in regards to chapter 5.4, periodic inventory, FIFO? how to journalize it, how to calculate it. Any questions?
No.
Okay. All right. So